And welcome back to Wedding Empires. We're so here.
Hi, we are.
I have organised a very special guest, Sara Kincaid, who is the Vice President of Operations for Aisle Planner. Now, I know most wedding planners will know about Aisle Planner. If they're not using it, they definitely would have come across it at some point. In my opinion, it's the world's leading platform for wedding planners, especially when it comes to client collaboration and managing all your tasks when you're organizing a wedding. However, it's not just for wedding planners, it's also for wedding venues. And as Sarah's going to tell us today, it's actually a great tool for most kind of wedding professionals, even you, Ben, as a wedding photographer.
And I have no idea about Aisle Planner, so I'm just here to
absorb,
make you look good.
You know what, though? You are gonna learn a lot today.
I will.
Because there's so much to this platform. It is such an incredible tool. So without further ado, I think we better bring in the expert so we can get up to speed. For you, what is Aisle Planner? For me, I want to know how we can use it better and these exciting new features that are on their way shortly. So Sara, we'd love to welcome you to Wedding Empires. How are you?
I am great. How are you guys? Welcome. It's great to see you on the other side of literally the world.
Yes.
Outside of the world. Yeah.
Yeah, streaming from San Diego and streaming from So it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
We're in Brisbane, a bit north, an hour north of Brisbane in Australia. So Don't say that. Chop that out.
Chop that out.
All right, so let's kick it off for anyone who doesn't know about Aisle Planner. What is it and what does it do and who is it for?
That was my question.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
How are you?
I am very well. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Ben.
He's literally going to kick me under the table.
As a wedding photographer, I know absolutely nothing about Aisle Planner. So what is Aisle Planner? What does it do? Tell us everything.
Absolutely. So Aisle Planner is a event CRM sales management project management platform for event professionals. It was built out of kind of necessity. The founder is an ex-wedding planner, luxury planner. Her husband was in event production and heavy large-scale corporate type planning. So the platform was built with the intent to create an all-in-one opportunity for event pros to do everything that they needed to do through the entire cycle from the day they interact with the client the first time until the event or date of the event. So you've got your full CRM sales platform, which takes you through lead intake, lead management, quoting, invoicing, contract management, payments, everything that you need to do from the sales side. And then once a client has booked with you, you can move them into project management. And within the project management tool suite, we have everything from your standard checklists to keep you on task, to keep your clients on task. It is a client-facing portal when you get to the project management side. So not only is it you and your team working within the portal, but you can invite your client in as well, with permissions, of course. So you can make sure that they see only what you want them to see and have access to what you want them to have access to. But within that, you have your checklist, which really works for all pros. You also have timeline management, layout, guest list, seating chart, budget management. We have a notes area, which is kind of like a la Google Drive, but somewhere where you can store all of your documents for your clients, whether they be read-only or that you want them to actually interact with and fill out. We also have a vendor management area where you can input all of your contacts for that particular event, upload documents underneath of their folder, including pictures, their COI, etc. And then a design studio. And the design studio is where you can collaborate on inspiration for the event. So as a photographer, you could upload, say the event or that couple is getting married at a certain venue that you work at often. You might have a file box of images for that particular venue. So, where the sunset photos are epic in the winter versus the summer, things like that. So you can have that. You can also talk about different inspiration places for them to shoot, kind of do run of lists as far as like what their key ideas for like what photos they want to get with their family, with their friends, major aspects and things that we want to make sure that we keep concise and that we're able to collaborate on during the actual planning process.
Right.
I think that's interesting to note in that, yes, me as a wedding planner, I would probably go in there and turn on every tab and use every feature, but you have the ability to sort of limit that. And you know, we're going to find out more about how robust the sales and the leads. Oh, sorry. I don't know what's going on with that.
Heat issue.
Yeah, I think so, maybe. So we're gonna dive into the sales and leads side of the software, but also it's important to note that you can switch on and off. So as a photographer, it might be important to you to do your checklist and send that to the client, do the design studio, and yes, you know, yes, it could be venue pictures that you're uploading, but also, oh dear, what is going on with our camera?
I think it's heat.
Oh,
Can we turn that on?
I don't know. Go. Sorry, Sarah.
That's okay. Technology.
I know. So this will learn us for doing 2 back to back. It's going, no.
How do I turn that on?
So yeah, as we're waiting for that, so
Can you hear that fan?
Nope. A little bit, but it's not bad. It's not distracting.
Right, we'll see how we go. Sorry for those of you who are joining us live. It's all fun and games here, showbiz, you know. Yeah, so let's talk about the checklist, because that is something that you've got some great templates that come with Aisle Planner that are sort of typical, every single step that you might need to do for planning a wedding. But you can also make your own templates depending on the needs of your business and the various packages that you offer and whatnot. Let's talk about the checklist and what's possible with the checklist, because I think even for those of us who use it, there's so much more that we could be using with it.
Yeah. So in my opinion, the checklist is probably your most valuable feature. The checklist is really where you are doing a brain dump of your entire process that you do within your organization. It is, I call it your brain, your business on Aisle Planner. So you are doing a data dump, a brain dump of everything that happens from the minute you start working with a client to the event date. Now that includes not only tasks for yourself, but tasks for your team, as well as tasks for the client. So you are creating an entire run of show for a 3-month, 6-month, 9-month, 18-month period of time. And the system is going to then keep you on track. It's going to let you know what needs to happen when, what is coming up next, where you are in the planning process. And really the big value of that is that it allows you to stop trying to keep all of that information in your head. For most pros, you're working with at any given time actively somewhere between 3 and 4 to up to 10, 15, especially for photographers and DJs and venues, you know, couples at a time. And if you are trying to keep all of that organized in your head, and I know we all think we're really, really good at it and that we've got it on lock, but like, it just allows you to stop using that brain space for all of those to-dos and all of that running task list and checklist that you have in your head, so that you can use it for creative ideas or for expanding your business or for whatever it happened to be. I mean, goodness gosh, like hanging out with friends and actually remembering their birthdays, right? So like, it's that is what the checklist is for. Now, within that checklist, you have a lot of opportunity to manipulate it how you want. You can set due dates or you can set general timeframes. You can add into, I always recommend when you're creating that checklist, be as detailed and thorough as humanly possible. Your goal, not to be morbid, but if you were not here tomorrow, someone should be able to open up your Aisle Planner account, read through your checklist items, and know exactly how to finish executing that event. So every detail should be in there. Same for like your client. If you're putting a checklist in there or a checklist item in there for your client, say obtain wedding marriage license or something like that. Or if you're a destination planner, you know, make sure We've got flights in play, or we've got hotels booked, et cetera, room blocks to expire. So put all of that detail in there. Put the local magistrate or the local courthouse email, phone number, address, hours of operation, put it all in there so that the client doesn't have to come back to you and say, hey, you said it's time to get my marriage certificate. What does that mean? Where do I go? What do I do? How do I find it? Right? The goal is to keep the communication and still be very active together in planning the event, but remove the back and forth conversation. It's like to give you both more bandwidth to be able to do more and work more and not have to get the emails when we all get them like, hey, where are we? What's up? What are we doing? What can I help with? Where are we in this process? You know, what's next? So we're taking all of that away so that we can plan better, so that we can both plan smarter, and so that we can be really cognizant of each other's time.
So two things, or a couple of things that I did as a wedding planner using Aisle Planner religiously is when I have that first meeting with a client, I would say, well, actually before I have the first meeting, I would send them the access to Aisle Planner and I would release all of the tabs at once. And I would have this very detailed email and I would say, absolutely, your first step is to go to the checklist and you're going to be faced with this really, really long list. And I want you both to get a bottle of wine or whatever it is. You got to commit to looking at this thing for a while, but remove anything that's not relevant or that you've already done, because we would quite often sort of not come right at the beginning of the piece, right? We would come after the venue or whatever, or there's some religious considerations, for example, in there that don't apply to this particular couple. So I would say before you do anything, yes, it looks like 400 items. It probably is 400 items, but go through and bin anything that's not relevant or that you've already done. And at that point also, I would do some detail around, if you're not the kind of person that's going to log in and look at your list, then assign a date to all of those items. It's going to give you a recommendation of, it should be 4 months out, 5 months out, whatever. But if you assign a physical date, you're going to get an email reminder on that date. And not only that, you can also subscribe to the calendar. So there's a few options out there. If you're not the kind of, some people are the kind of person that every Sunday I'm going to work on my wedding and I'm going to log into Aisle Planner and work down my list, and that's fine. The capabilities are there for that. But for the people who aren't and need that email or need to see the calendar reminder pop up on their phone, I love that there's those three options there for the checklist.
Absolutely. And if you are a full planner, I will often recommend, because there is such thing as like analysis paralysis and like too much information at once, right?
Well,
so
that's me, Sarah.
Yeah.
Too much
so
info at once.
When you're creating your templates, and as Jack said earlier, you can create as many templates as you want, and I highly recommend it. I recommend that you create the most all-encompassing one first that becomes your actual like template for your company, and then you copy it, like carbon copy it, and whittle it down for different types of events. So obviously, full planning is going to be different from partial. It's going to be different from coordination. It's going to be different from a social event. If you're doing a bridal shower, you're doing a birthday party, or you're doing a celebration of life. So you're going to want a different checklist for each of those. Within that checklist, when you're creating the template, you can create something called a pre-assignment. It's just a little notation that tells you who you're going to assign it to when it comes to actually creating the project out, right? I will often say, if it's a really, really robust checklist, label them client 1, client 2, client 3, and then actually put in your personal checklist, release client 1 items, release client 2 items, and release client 3 items at different points within that planning process. And that way, that day when you're onboarding them, you're only giving them the tasks that are, really the 10 to 6 month out, tasks. And then at the 6 month, you're releasing 6 months to 3 months. And then finally the three months to event date. And few things. One, we're squirrel. We like to look forward. There are things that are more fun to do. It's usually the things that are a little bit closer to the event date, and people will skip ahead and ignore these like not as fun, like long-term aspects. So it's a way to keep your client a little bit more focused, still give them a nice list of things that they're going to be responsible for, but not the entire, especially if we are with a 12 or 18 month out client, that could get really, really cumbersome and really overwhelming for them. So that's a great way to do it as well.
I think the contacts tab is another favorite area of mine. I had a business where at one point we had, I think, 50 wedding planners, and we all had this shared black book. And right, we did.
Wow.
And it was in various locations in Australia. So we got creative when it came to using the tags, you know, so we'd have Florist Brisbane, Florist Melbourne, you know, tag like that. So people could start from scratch and go, I'm in Melbourne, who have I got, you know, and view them all that way. So there's some cool things that you can do like that. But a nice touch also is when, as a wedding planner, when you're, you know, taking that intake for your clients, is asking them who they've already booked. And then when you get them into Aisle Planner and show them that contacts tab, I'm already there as the planner. The venue's already there. I've gone and if they weren't in my black book, I've added them. I've gone and found the florist or Ben, the photographer, and put all those details in there and just encourage them that that's how it should look. And you know, I know that they're color coded if they're under consideration or if they're confirmed, but nurturing that from the beginning, in that this is where we put this stuff. So and you know, if it's me as the planner that's booking all the vendors, or if it's the client, because you know there are those packages out there where it's the client who's going and doing that, and this becomes really a key communication tool in terms of what are they doing ahead of this event that I'm working on. Right? So I think it's so important early on to encourage that, use that, because when it comes time to assigning those tasks in the checklist, it's so much easier if they're already in there to be able to assign, you know, oh, we've booked the photographer. Right, I'm going to say as the planner, question number 1, when's sunset? Photographer wants to know that. Let's put that into, you know, and we can tag him and whatnot. So I think the contacts tab's really, really key as well.
Yep.
I think putting together too at the end, I mean, it's important in the beginning, these two tools together, but in my final meeting as a planner, contacts and checklists together pretty much run the whole meeting, right? So whether or not the client has done her whole wedding and she's just booked us for day of, or we've done everything, that final meeting, I actually use the checklist as the running order of my meeting. It's we're going to sit down and we're going to blow by blow go through these tasks, and we're going to make sure that there's either, you know, a person attached to each of them, and that person better bloody be in the contacts tab, because I need their phone number and I need their email at least. So those things are important in the beginning, definitely, in terms of walking you through the process and ticking off the tasks, but also as in the last few days and weeks where you're pulling everything together, it becomes a really complex and detailed document. You know,
Absolutely.
much more than
Well, and I think, you know, one of the things that we haven't mentioned yet is within the checklist, within the comments, within a few other places within the platform, including the design studio, you can make comments too. So you can actually have a running dialogue with a client about that particular vendor within that vendor's contact, right? Or about that specific checklist item. So what I call that micro level communication versus macro level communication, which would be like an email or like a general chat or like text string, where that's just general communication. But if it's about something very specific that you're going to need to be able to reference back to, that's where you absolutely want to make sure that you have it in a running comment on the platform, so that you all, and anybody in your organization, if it's not you who's running the event, say you were the person who took it over, but there's someone else who's actually going to be executing it day of, you need to make sure that they can see all of those running comments as well.
Yeah.
And finally, and I think will kind of clean up the checklist, but you had mentioned having an email and kind of a getting to know Aisle Planner and a overview for your clients, which is absolutely necessary. As any pro knows, when you get into the system, there's a lot you can do. It's a very robust system, and it can definitely be overwhelming for the client. Not only can you do that, but remember that within your checklist items, at the very first one, you can put review Aisle Planner platform, and you can put a link right in there that's maybe a Loom video. That's a 10-minute, hey, this is Jack, your wedding planner, and I'm going to show you how to use Aisle Planner and what you need to do. A lot of times that visual is a lot easier for someone to understand than to like run through. But then you could also attach a checklist right there, right? That is in your notes. That's an automatic note that was saved in your templates. And so you're linking back to a note that you've already put in their project. That's a checklist of how to get started to make sure the client knows exactly what they need to do to be set up for success.
Yeah, look, after trial and error with us, I used to do it in my first meeting. I would open up Aisle Planner and like give them the tour, but I think it was just too much. It was too much to take in one meeting.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think you're right. I think the last format that we had in that email was a loom, and then we would change. We would say this is the checklist, and that hyperlink to the checklist, we would change that, and then it would go to that particular client's checklist. So it would just take them straight there.
And so you don't even need to do the email. You could literally put it in the comments in the checklist item, and then it's like right there for them to go click, click, watch it straight from the platform. But it's a great way to utilize it as well, and just another way to think outside the box on how to utilize it.
Yeah.
A video would definitely help someone like me.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. There are two types of people, right? So like there's visual, and then there's visual, there's audible, and then there are people who really,
and then there's me.
There's Ben who needs everything. Okay.
Yeah. High maintenance.
Now, Sarah, tell me about the expense tracking. I think that's another really cool tool. You know, when whether it's the client managing their own wedding budget or whether you're as the planner managing their budget, such a cool tool. Can you talk us through the features and how that works?
Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, especially when we're talking about weddings and being a wedding pro, it is a large purchase for the client. Money is always a sensitive topic, and it's something that you want to be very respectful of. It's clearly it's not usually the pro blowing the budget. It is the client who's saying more and more and more. But you know, you want to be respectful, and you want to make sure that there is at all times 100% visibility into what is happening with their budget. So the budget tool allows you to set the initial budget. It may go way over, but you can set the initial at least, and set estimates of what that should look like for this client based on what they're looking to do for their event, right? It looks different depending on the cost of an event, but estimates are pretty consistent depending on the client. You can always manipulate them a little bit. And then once you actually get your different contracts from your vendors, you can, create a invoice schedule within their contact folder. So they've got an actual payment schedule, and they're getting reminders that like a vendor payment is due. But that will automatically, if you attach it to the category, automatically communicate over to their budget. And so now you've got an estimated cost, but then you've got an actual cost. So maybe the estimate for the florist was $8,000. The actual is $91.30, right? So you've got those two, and then it'll show you when the payments are due. So you can keep a real visual and 100% accurate idea of where we are as far as the budget and where we're spending the money. It shows them that breakdown. It shows percentages. It shows like where they're going off track. So yeah, great tool, great opportunity for the client to stay well within budget and to stay in control. I can't tell you how many times I have talked to planners specifically, because this is usually something that's more in line with the planner side. If you're talking total budget versus the additional pros who are just looking at a piece of the budget. But I can't tell you how many times where, the client's going this, the planner's going, yes. Now it's, 5-6 months out, and all of a sudden the planner goes, oh, hey, by the way, just FYI, you're already at budget. We have all these things we need to pay for. And the client's freaking out, right? Because they hadn't been having that conversation. No one wants to talk about money. So it's a really easy way to keep it very visible to everybody and keep it transparent so that there aren't those surprises a little bit further along the way. I
think it's key to mention, if a client came to me and said, I've got $50,000 right at the beginning of the whole piece, and I've put in my wedding planning fees and I've taken that, let's become $43,000. Let's start there. But but I love, the self-adjusting of, if you've got 43 left, this is our recommendation on how you should split that up. It's in gray font. It'll say, this is what you should spend on flowers. This is what you could spend on to make the most out of that, what you have left. It's an interesting conversation and most planners will have had this, where someone will come to you with no details and say, how much do you think I should spend on flowers? What's an appropriate amount for me to spend on catering? And you're there going, how long is a piece of string? To have a tool like that where you can, with confidence, go back and say, well, let's approach this in a different way. How much is your overall budget? It's 50 grand. Okay. And you're saying to me that flowers are really important. Well, we've got this tool here and that it's saying it should be $5,000. But for example, if you really, that ceiling installation is really important to you and 5,000 is not going to cut it. Yes, I can give advice around that I can tell you realistically 5 grand's not going to cover what you're thinking. But say it's 10 grand, I can put that in and I can show in a visual way that you can have that, but it's going to mean, in order for us to make your budget work, these are the areas that we might have to sacrifice a bit of budget in order to allow for that. I think that presenting that in a visual way, is such a great way to use the tool and be realistic and have difficult conversations about money. That it's part of my job to make your money work harder and your budget work harder, but this is it in a visual way. What we've got to work with. Yeah. So, we can move this around and make allowances, but, you're going to miss out somewhere else. You're going to bring down that.
Absolutely. Well, and I think one of the other things that's really unique about the Aisle Planner platform and gives you really brings the value of you as a planner up is the fact that a lot of these decisions that couples are making, especially like when we're talking around money and budget, but there are a lot of different things that they want to sit and they want to marinate on. They want to think through. One of the things that's great about having a client-focused portal, somewhere where you guys are collaborating together, but not like in the same room, is what Jack said earlier. Go look at your budget. Grab a glass of wine, grab a beer, sit down, think it through. What realistically do you want to spend? You're seeing that breakdown right there. If you know that your dream photographer is $15K, but you've only got a $7,500 budget, where can you manipulate it? Or are you okay coming out of pocket for the rest? And that conversation happening in the comfort of their own home, in the privacy of their own home, is such an easier conversation, and it gives them time to kind of settle into it versus being at a round table with you going, hey, well, that's the cost. Do you want to make it work or not? Because if you're asking them to make a split decision, usually they're going to say no. And if they do say yes, you might get a situation where then they go home and they talk about it, and 24 hours later you get a, whoa, that was a bad decision, right? So I think that that's something from the client side that is really valuable, because it gives them a little bit more autonomy to be a part of the whole planning process, but do it in a very private way.
Yeah.
I think, just as a side note too, having those conversations about money, in particular as a wedding planner, where you are involved either wholly or partially, or just giving advice around the budget, I always, early on in that first meeting, would say, I'm making a commitment to you to be absolutely transparent. And if and when things pop up that are out of scope, I'm going to come to you as soon as that happens. I'm not, but I'm making a commitment to you to be transparent about that. If you want something and you can't afford it, or you want something and it's not possible, I'm going to be realistic and bring that to you straight away. So I think it's important to make mention of that set those things up early in the piece, not later on where you're going, okay, I know we said 50, but it's actually surprise. It's actually about 75.
Right. Client comes out you with a $50,000 budget, but a dripping ceiling of florals, and you're like, that's your entire budget.
Yeah.
That's why
So set up those expectations that I'm going to be a realist and with confidence give you advice around things that we can't do, and here's a solution. You want that look, here's another way to do it. That's who you are, and Aisle Planner is going to facilitate that in a visual way and back you up with the data.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's actually a great segue into the design studio, because again, it's one of the pieces of the project management platform where you and the client are collaborating on the vision, right? And so that is where you get to maybe bring in a vendor, your florist who you're going to use. The clients absolutely love this florist. It's their perfect aesthetic. So you're going to use this florist. You have a great relationship with them. You go ahead, you invite them into the project. You only give them access to the design studio, and you say, hey, florist, can you please upload a handful of different sprays? And underneath of it, comment on what is the cost of that spray? Things like that. What is the size? What is the scope? How many stems is that? Same with in a previous life, I was a vendor, specifically linen. And so my clients would invite me in and I would just have access to the design studio. I knew their aesthetic because I had access and I could see the entire inspiration for what they were doing. And then I would create a folder and I would put, here are 4 linen options that I think would work really well for your event. They're within your cost. Here is the cost per of the different sizes. Here are the quantities we have. Let me know which. And it was a really easy way for all of us to collaborate without having to be in the same room and all the back and forth via email. So again, a great way, nice segue, but the design studio, great way to communicate with your client. As a photographer, putting folders in there of different venues, different light sources, what they're going to look like. Maybe if you've got 3 different ways that you edit final, you've got a natural, you've got a moody, and you've got, a bright and light. So maybe you put different folders in there of 3 different aesthetics and what they're going to look like and what they're really going to do to the photos, so that they know, and there's no crossing of the wires later when you do all the editing in the soft and moody, and they're like, no, we wanted bright and light, right?
Yeah.
So lots of different ways that you can utilize it, get inspiration from the client. Lilac is not lilac to every single person, right? So I want a lilac wedding, and you will get it from, and you're like, that's periwinkle. And I just sourced everything lilac. So great ways to be able to utilize it on both ways, giving inspiration to the client, but also getting their inspiration from them.
For wedding professionals that are new to Aisle Planner, what kind of advice can you give them to get started and maximizing the platform's capabilities?
Absolutely. So we offer a free 30-day trial for any pro. So you're able to go in, test it out. You have full access to all of the features within the Aisle Planner platform. So it's not like you're limited to what you can do. We want you to truly be able to feel it out. We want you to be able to get in there. We want you to be able to do a test project or maybe a real project, whatever that looks like for you. But we want you to be able to really feel it out. We also offer onboarding. We have a customer success manager. She's phenomenal. She is an ex-event pro. One of the things I love about our company, we are all ex-event pros. We have all been in the industry. We have all been exactly where you are. We know the challenges. We also know what works and what doesn't. So she is there to help do an onboarding. We're going to start doing monthly onboarding, monthly or bi-weekly. We're not sure which, depending on interest, but orientation webinars where you can just get on and see how does it work, where to get started, what to do. But really with Aisle Planner, the number one thing I will tell you is that it takes time. You're truly recreating your entire business process on a new platform. It is a platform that will work for you as you build it out. It's also a great value asset. You now have your entire business process in a sellable product that you can literally transfer the rights to someone else, and it gives you value to your company. But you're building out your entire business, so be patient. Take the time, put time aside to really learn what it does and how to make it work for you. It's technology. It only knows, it only works as well as the information you. So you can't just log in and expect it to set up and ready for success. You really have to put that energy into it. And it's creating out those templates, creating out those checklists, making sure you've got a real clean vision of how you're going to utilize the system.
That's something that, yeah. I mean, that's CRMs, and in a CRM form is something that I've kind of run from my whole career, because I tried a couple here in Australia right in the beginning, and over the years they've gotten so technical and there's been so much involved in them that it's become too hard for my little brain, and I've just had to bail and just do it in a way that I can understand. And I think there's a lot of creatives out there who are, I often joke and say I have galloping ADHD, which here I am, here we are. And I think there's a lot of other wedding professionals and a lot of other creatives out there that have the same thing, that really struggle with the volume of technology that is required, and getting your head around everything that gets done. So, and it's the same with here, and with me and Jack here. I quite often think that I'm just here to make her look pretty, because Jack does so much of all of the tech stuff, because I just have no idea, and it's really hard for me to get my head around. So, helping people make the most out of it, and the videos and stuff that are there, I think is a great way to really help. And your advice in putting the time in is good too.
It's hard. The number one conversation you will hear out of any event pro's mouth, no matter what vertical they're in, is, I just don't have enough time, right? Yeah. One of the things that technology will help you do, though, is make more time for your business and to work outside of your business too. Vacations, having time to step away, being able to know that you can, go out of town for a weekend, or go to a friend's event and not have to worry that things are falling apart, within the business, or that things are falling behind, or that you're going to come back to just a smorgasbord of issues. Yeah, because that's what technology helps you to do. So the other thing I will say, especially from the CRM side, there are a ton of CRMs for event professionals. They're constantly throwing new ones at you. Yeah. I think that it really is. It's about focusing on the process, how much flexibility it gives you. There's a lot of thought process of if it's already built out, that's just easier. I just have to plug and go. But the problem with that is it takes away from the buyer's experience. It takes away from the individualism of your company. It takes away from your brand voice when you're, kind of confined to just 4 templates for this particular thing or something like that. So there's pluses and minuses to all of it. I think that it's about finding one that you understand and works with you and has the flexibility you need to be able to do your job and run your company the way you feel comfortable, versus kind of being forced in a single direction.
I think one good thing about in that situation is our planner can be as simple or as complicated as you need it to be. You can go to the budget tab, or the seating plan, or the checklist, and it is an obvious checklist and it makes sense how to use it. But the minute that you go up to the right and you go to the little advanced option and start digging deeper, like I do,
Eject.
But what I'm trying to say is you don't have to. It's simple and it makes sense the way that things are laid out. So you can go in there and not be scared to give it a go, and go tab by tab, and just start using one feature and start expanding on your repertoire as and when you see fit. Sarah, important. I have to know this new feature about the RSVP, because as a planner, I have been absolutely dying for this, because there's so many hacks that I had to do to make this work. So Ben, just so you know, there is a great feature in that you can manage your guest list, right? And it all makes sense that, the couple will put in groups of people that need to be together, or if you can imagine, you don't just put in name by name, you put in Ben and Haley, for example, and then you can export that for the caterer or for the seating plan or whatever. There's all these great things that you could do with it. But one thing you couldn't do was include on an invite, here's a link for you to go and RSVP and it talk to Aisle Planner. insert those people into. So there was always this manual sort of RSVP over here. I'll export it. I'll import it, or manually typing in these names. So tell me it's fixed.
It is. So we do now. It runs through. So just so everybody's aware, there's a wedding website on within the Aisle Planner project. It's pretty flat. You don't have to use it. You just have to enable it, because it's where the link lives once you actually enable it. You have to quote unquote send the guest list, but there doesn't have to be any emails in there. You can send it just to create the database, basically, and then you have a link. So a lot of pros now will want to create like a QR code. So create that QR code, put it on the event website, whichever one they're using, but it directly links back to the Aisle Planner website. They can also go in and edit, which that was probably the number one request we got was, okay, they can get the initial one, but we want them to be able to edit their RSVP. They put a +1, they put in their boyfriend today. It is now 6 months later. That boyfriend is long gone. We need to change that RSVP. So
I love that.
Or, I was vegan yesterday, I'm not today. So whatever it happens to be, but they can now go in and search and edit as well, which just adds we're constantly listening to our pros. We, like I said, as a group of ex-event pros, we do understand your frustrations. We promise. We understand like the feedback that we are receiving, and working as diligently as we can to continue to push through requests that we do receive. And so that was a big one for us that had been asked for a while. And so it finally made it on the docket, went through, has been very well received. And the goal is to make you as the planner, as well as the client, make it easier, make that process just a little bit less cumbersome so that you can focus on other things.
I've got a feature request.
What's that?
She's like, oh no.
I can tell you it's on the docket.
I had to use a different software in order to make this possible. I couldn't do it in Aisle Planner. I believe that there's capabilities on a basic level, but not to the level that I needed it. I like creating questionnaires. So a floral questionnaire, catering questionnaire, a linen questionnaire. I want to remove as much work from me as possible. So I, in another platform, created these detailed questionnaires. So say, for example, I'm in charge of looking after their florals. I will send the couple the floral questionnaire. They will fill it out, and it prompts them to think of things that they haven't even thought of. Buttonholes. Do we want, obviously bouquets and all of that, but how many? It draws out of them the exact, realistically, all the things that they need. And I would export it as a PDF. And then when I'm bulk going to my florist, this is what I need, right? It's attached. So you have the capabilities of doing a questionnaire, I want to say.
You do, yeah. So you have the abilities. I mean, it's a little bit more limited. Yeah. It's basically like yes or no. There is a fill in the blank. There's like and it's like short text or long text. You can give specific options. We get requests for the questionnaire quite a bit, also for like an after event questionnaire, like, tell us how we did, kind of that side of things. So it is something that is on our radar. It is something that is on our to-do list. Good. Along with about 100 different other things, but
imagine. We just want a one fits all and not have to subscribe to 50 different things.
And that's our goal. Absolutely, and it's always been the goal of Aisle Planner is to bring everything, make sure that you don't have to subscribe to 10 different things and send your clients to multiple different locations with all these different like passwords and usernames. I mean, it just gets cumbersome. So absolutely.
So Sarah, coming to the end here, I get to ask my Ben's guest question, which I ask all of our guests. And that question is, what advice, if you walked outside and ran into an 18-year-old version of you, What advice would you give that 18-year-old version of you, knowing what you know now in terms of life and business and everything?
So I would say from the very beginning, if you can, from the minute you have an idea or decide, I want to go into business, whether it's going to be a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, whether you're going to be a boss with 1 million employees, whether you're going to be an individual contributor to another larger organization, before you go out there and you actually take on that position, think about what you're going to need to be successful. And think forward. Don't think tomorrow. Think 5, 10, 15 years ahead of time. If you are setting up your business today, put the processes in place, put the technologies in place to support you all the way up. I would say one of the biggest mistakes, and I can't say that it's wrong, because most are starting with, a hairline budget and a dream, of making this thing work. But,
Yeah.
if you really want to succeed, take the time to put the effort in that's necessary. I always used to recommend, when I was doing some business coaching for newer pros, take a step back, only take 5 or 6 clients, and take a part-time job that helps you be able to take only the clients you want and really set yourself up for success. If you want to be this type of planner or this type of photographer, if you want to work at this level with this type of client, you're going to need to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success from the very beginning. It's also a whole lot easier to do it from the very beginning than to try to 3-5 years into your business, when things are busy and you're active and you're getting more and more successful, to stop the wheels and put these different programs, technologies, processes in place. So honestly, I would say the number one advice I would give is, if you really want it to work, give yourself the ability to invest in yourself and invest in your business. And investing means time. It means technology. It means resources. It means education. But all of those things are going to ensure that as you move forward in your career, you are set up for success, and you don't hit a roadblock at 5 years because you didn't do those things. And now you've found that you are growing past your capabilities.
I love that.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
So if you would like to invest in your business, Sarah,
Segue.
I'm so corny. Sarah has given us a really generous deal for all of our listeners, 10% off Aisle Planner for the first 12 months. All you have to do is go to a dedicated page that has been set up. So the website for Aisle Planner is Aisle Planner, AISLE, of course, aisleplanner.com. And if you go /affiliate/Wedding Academy Global, you will be able to redeem that offer. Don't worry, I'm going to put it in the show notes. I will share that link with everybody, but it is 10% off for 12 months. So thank you very much for your generosity, Sarah. I think that
Absolutely.
I rave about Aisle Planner to anyone and everyone. So I think you need to get on board and go and try it for your business, no matter what kind of wedding professional you are. If you're looking to streamline things, it's an excellent tool.
Yeah, no, and thank you so much for having me on. I truly, truly appreciate it. It's always great to talk with fellow event professionals and continue to I'm all about education. I'm all about hey, we're, like I said, we're here to help. Our goal, our vision from the very beginning was to elevate and support event professionals in their career, to make their jobs easier and give them better work-life balance. So whatever we can do to support, we're here to help. Thank you guys so much for having us on. We really, really appreciate it, and are excited for all the things to come between Wedding Empires and Wedding Academy Global and
Aisle Planner. Remember who you work for?
And Aisle Planner.
Excellent. All right. Thanks
Sarah.
so much, Sarah. We will definitely have you back. So thanks a lot, and see you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.
Thanks.
Bye.
That was cool. So I know you're not a wedding planner, but
Yes.
I honestly think you could use Aisle Planner for your business, even just from a form on the website, sales and leads coming in, tracking them.
I'll have a look.
you're like, oh my God,
I'll have a
another
look.
thing to learn.
If
from
there's
you,
pretty
Jack.
if there's pretty colors for me to work with and
Yeah.
it's easy, then I'll have a look. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone, if you haven't heard, you can become a pro member of Wedding Empires, this podcast, and get a whole range of features, including exclusive episodes, ones that you can't see here, special ones only available to pro members. Also, we have a whole platform for our pro members where they can go in, create a professional profile for themselves and actually network, which, you know, something that we've been talking about a bit.
I love so much.
But connect with other wedding professionals all around the world. And of course, this podcast is there. The video replays are there. But there's also at least another 4 trainings a month for your wedding business amongst all these other resources, templates. And it's, did I mention it's $9 a month? $9 US a month. Super cheap for what you're getting. So if you'd like to find out more, you can visit our new shiny website, weddingempires.com. And Ben, do you remember our usernames on Instagram and TikTok?
Yeah, it's at Wedding Empires Podcast.
Yes.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Look at me go.
I know. All right. Well, thanks, guys.
And
we'll see you soon. Oh,
don't forget our big thing is coming.
what big-
We have we have some news. It's coming. Wedding supplies.
yeah.
Stay
Get ready.
tuned.
Get ready
Stay
for some
tuned.
fun stories
Yes.
from wedding incidents. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, she's let more out of the bag. All right.
Stay tuned on that one.
See you guys.
Soon, guys.